Hello gainers, I'm Ralphie and welcome to my channel called Fitter Philosophy, in which I share some practical stoic observations of life, and in sharing them hopefully they will empower you with your personal philosophy. And my subject today is connecting with the seasons. And the reason for this is that I remember a number of years ago when I had a busy full-time job, and it was busier in winter than it was in summer, but even when it was quiet there was always something to do. And because of the demands of the business and because of the stipulations of employment and the requirement to work certain hours and do a whole array of tasks, I found myself being institutionalized into the role that I had, in the job that I had, and getting very used to it. And in doing so, I'd find myself quite tired in winter and reasonably fresh in summer, but not really having enough time for what I wanted to do. And it's because I was in tune with human industrial productivity. And many people, to be honest, have very little choice in this matter. But you do notice, for those who have the luxury of working not so much with human industrial pace, but with the seasons, whether they be in farming or in gardening, two good examples where your job is adjusted to the time of the year and the activity of growth in plant life. And I noticed that talking to folk who were involved in that side of things, they could be working just as hard as I was in a different way, but you know what I mean. But they took it more in their stride because the pace was set by the natural world around them to a certain extent. Whereas myself, being more in the funeral side of things, in a large operation with many different tasks, the pace was set not by the seasons but by the environment. And for many people in the modern world who are living in offices or working two jobs to make ends meet, the pace of life is not set by the natural world but by the artificial environment of human industry. Working in offices, working in factories, working where there isn't a lot of natural light, so you are not able to keep track of daylight hours in summer or winter. For people particularly who are working in night shift, intermittent night shift or constant night shift, it can be very disruptive to the biological clock. And the biological clock that we all have is tuned to the natural environment, because that, for most of human existence, is what's really mattered, is taking things more slowly when the days are short and the nights are long and it's colder, and you have to conserve more energy and you have to be mindful of the risk with predators or the lack of food. So you tend to, it's human instinct, particularly in winter seasons and colder environments, is to hibernate when the nights are long and be more active, more alert, more expending of energy when the days are long. When the harvest is there to be gathered, when the hunt is there to be hunted, it's more likely to be during the summer months. And this is something which we're oblivious to because we're programmed, and we really are programmed for the modern world. And the modern world, by the way, is remarkably modern. It's only happened really in the last 50 years. And it takes time to adjust to it. So when you're feeling disorientated, out of sorts, when you're feeling that condition of being, well, I'm not unwell, but I'm not well either, I'm somewhere in between, and it's going on and on and on, it could well be to do with the artificiality of modern life programming, in which our shift doesn't end at work. It continues when we get home afterwards, and we make the big mistake of tuning in to the perpetual negative, debilitating white noise of the media. And increasingly that media is encroaching online. It's being forced on by online platforms, and we've got to be wise to it. Ultimately, it's not just survival of the fittest. It's more complex than that. It's survival of the smartest, the most modest in aspirations, those who make do with a modest amount of income and spend it correctly, and do not aspire to overspend and overcommit into fancy cars and second homes and all that nonsense. We just don't need it. Speak to people in nursing homes. It doesn't matter what they went in with, they don't keep it for long. And sure, we have people who will inherit from this, and that is a comfort. And we acquire stuff in life, and we acquire wealth that we can pass on to the next generation. But to be honest, half the time your own blood relative family are the worst possible people to appreciate it or not appreciate it. And they're probably doing quite well themselves, and when they get that extra wealth, they're just going to get taxed for most of it. So it's hardly worth it. Live within your means, live for the moment, make plans, but don't be too ambitious, and moderate life around the seasons, around the natural world. And one of the best ways of doing it is to connect with it more regularly, cut off the white noise, and it's just practical advice here, gainers. Simple practical advice, and even if you take some of it, you're going to find it very helpful. If you take all of it, it could actually change your life to the extent that you wake up and gradually realizing you're morphing as an individual. You're unplugging from the matrix, literally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and you're so much stronger for it. Because when we get tuned into the average of the masses, and regard that as acceptable for our own personal standards, we're really letting our standards down most of the time, because what we're tuning into and what we're being encouraged to accept is a fantasy and a fiction. I'm Ralphie. I'll leave you with these daffodils. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed this. Click the likey, and we'll see you soon.